Donald Trump's former national security advisor just blasted and humiliated Trump live on CNN. I don't know if you have seen this story, but it has just come out that the Justice Department is accusing Russia of trying to interfere with our elections. It's like 2016 all over again. This time they have spent more than $10 million funneled through a media company called Tenet Media, and it went to some of the biggest influencers in the Republican media. Tim Pool, Dave Rubin, etc. And so John Bolton had some choice words about people like that and people like Trump who allow Russian disinformation to impact the way that they talk. You've got to see this.
Vladimir Lenin used to call people like that useful idiots. And there are a few useful idiots in Congress today on the Republican side. And I'm sure the Russians are trying to take advantage of them. It's really a twofer for Russians or others trying this kind of influencing. One, I think they do want Donald Trump to be president because unlike Trump's opinion of his relationship with Putin, Putin thinks Trump is an easy mark, so he'd be happy to deal with him.
So let's just slow that down for a second. Trump's former national security advisor essentially calls Trump a useful idiot, says that Putin thinks he is easily manipulated, and that Russian disinformation, this should terrify every American who's paying attention and hasn't also been influenced by Russian propaganda, because Russia is not our friend. And Ukraine is fighting for its life right now. Russia invaded a nation, a democracy, unprovoked, and Donald Trump wants to hand that country to Russia. What else will he hand to Russia is my question. What else will he hand to Russia? And I think what John Bolton also said in this interview was really telling about how propaganda does more than just kind of influence the way that people think about Russia. It sows discord in our politics. And I think that's a lot of what has happened is we are in our silos now, and either you are for or against something. And Russia has really been able to capitalize on that because no matter what they do, whether they're for Trump, against Biden, for Kamala, against Trump, it doesn't matter because people are so caught in their own bubble now that they don't really trust institutions. And so Russia is taking full advantage of that. See how.
But it has a secondary and perhaps even more significant effect because this kind of propaganda undercuts Americans' faith in their own institutions, and it turns Americans against each other. People who hate Donald Trump will now say more Russian interference. We knew it was true all along. Die-hard Trump supporters will say they've politicized the Justice Department again. Here's another prosecution of poor people just trying to help Donald Trump out. Yeah. So this sowing of discontent, distrust is very significant.
So we have a really long ways to go before we can trust each other again. The first step is going to be defeating Donald Trump. And I'm really into what John Bolton was saying. I was like here with him. I was like, yes, John Bolton, yes. Okay, I'm totally with you. Propaganda is just tearing us apart. And Donald Trump's a useful idiot, and like anyone that's pro-Russia is a useful idiot. But then he had to go and ruin it. He had to go and ruin it because, as you know, if you watched my last video, if not, go watch it, Liz Cheney endorsed Kamala Harris. She said that she is going to vote for her despite disagreeing on so many policy issues. They agree on one issue, which is that Donald Trump cannot become president again. He is a danger to our democracy, and Kamala Harris is the only person who can beat him and win. But John Bolton had to ruin it. John Bolton, why? Watch this.
Back in April, you were sitting here with me on this show. You told me that you were writing in Dick Cheney for the election. You're not voting for your former boss, Donald Trump. You heard Liz Cheney say today that she's voting for Harris despite being conservative. And she said it is important for people to recognize not only is what I've said about the danger that Trump poses something that should prevent people from voting for him, but I don't believe we have the luxury of writing in candidates' names. Does that change your opinion at all?
Certainly not. You know, I was coming under pressure not to vote for Dick Cheney, to vote for Liz, but I guess with her comments today, maybe I'll just stick with Dick Cheney.
that's so funny. That's so funny. It's so disappointing. God, do people not understand how close we are to this whole thing becoming, it's like so fragile. It is so fragile. And Donald Trump is a sledgehammer. And it's so fragile. Here is his like really cynical reason why he's writing in some random guy. He's got a couple cynical reasons. I want to address them after.
It's not a luxury to be able to write in somebody other than the two major party candidates. It's important. It's a protest vote. I understand my vote will not elect a president. That has no chance to. But in Maryland, where I live, I have no chance to affect the Electoral College outcome there anyway. And I am not going to vote for anybody with whom I have a principled disagreement or think they're not fit to be president. It's a sad commentary on our political process that we've got two such inadequate candidates now. And I don't agree with the idea that somehow the Constitution is such a piece of weak paper that Donald Trump is a threat to it. Donald Trump will cause a lot of damage if he's elected in a second term. He is not an existential threat to American democracy. If you really think that, you must think this country isn't worth much, because we've gone 235 years with this Constitution. We've survived a lot worse than Donald Trump. And this kind of comment undercuts those who are trying to see Trump put in his place.
One, I'm sure there are Republicans out there, I'm not one of them, but I'm sure there are Republican people out there who look up to him and are like, all right, if John Bolton, if they were like, all right, well, John Bolton is going to vote for Kamala Harris, I guess I will. So it's not about your frickin' vote in Maryland, idiot. It's about you giving permission for other people who look up to you to be able to do something differently. And it's so cynical to say that Kamala Harris is inadequate to be president. She is one of the most qualified people to ever run for the role. Attorney General, Senator, Vice President. What more? I mean, how much more prepared can you be? And the Constitution is just a piece of paper. The only reason why Donald Trump didn't go through with this plan successfully to overturn the election is because men with more courage than you, frankly, were able to stand up to him and stand up for the Constitution. The Constitution only means as much as the people willing to defend it. And actions like yours, selfish actions of writing someone in a protest vote when we are facing someone who could truly dismantle everything we know about this country, is a shame.
I know what's wrong with you young people. You think you just fell out of a coconut tree?